All right, Burke, we are going to get into some previews here now. Our first preview we're going to talk about is Ohio State and Nebraska. Now, Nebraska is going to Ohio State. Nebraska is very hot right now. They could end the season as possibly the second or the third best record in the Big Ten, which is just absolutely wild to think about with the way everybody is choosing them to be, 12th or 13th, possibly in the Big Ten early on in the year and in the preseason. But Fred Hoiberg has done some amazing things. He's my choice for Coach of the Year. Personally, I feel like Fred Hoiberg has turned this team around and really been able to do some things with them that are really special and spectacular. However, going to Ohio State, they've been a pretty hot team under Jake Diebler, and Nebraska's not been their best on the road this season. Ken Palm is actually predicting a 1-point win, giving Ohio State a 51% chance to win this game. Burke, the Buckeyes are hot. What are your thoughts on this game?
Hey, JR, I'm sorry, man. I'm just going to say, honestly, headed into this one, I think things have to level out here a bit. I think the Diebler effect works when your team is heading into the likes of like Purdue and Michigan State. But like, no offense to Nebraska, they are so good right now. This is the best Nebraska has literally ever been. It is. And no offense to them at all, but you just don't get up for Nebraska like you do Purdue and Michigan State. It's looking ahead on the program, but I see things leveling out. Rink Mast just distributes from the front court like a diet TJD, so I respect the hell out of him for that. Juwan Gary just is the ultimate team guy, just does everything little you need done. Bryce Williams is playing his ass off, playing the best ball he has been, and Tominaga is going to Tominaga. Like I like Nebraska here. Like the guards of the Buckeyes, they're super athletic, and they can go and win you a game. But I feel like the highs of these Ohio State wins, it has to come back down to earth.
Yeah, I think, even for me, an Ohio State fan looking at this game, I feel like the storyline is more about Nebraska here than it is Ohio State. Ohio State's a nice story, and, they've played spoiler in a couple games here and frustrated, the likes of Sparty and the Boilermakers, which has been fun as a fan. But at the end of the day, you'd like to see it all season, not just
if you fire you're on to the next season. That's just But like, it is fun to have these.
Right. But the way I look at this Nebraska team, and honestly, I mean, when you look at the schedules of Nebraska, I mean, they are a game and a half back, I think. I want to make sure they're still, well, it depends on what happens with this Illinois game tonight. But I believe as of right now, they are a game and a half back from Illinois, and Illinois has a really hard stretch here to end the season. They have Minnesota tonight. I forget who their next games are, but I was just looking at it the other day thinking to myself, this is a pretty tough stretch to the end of the season. For Illinois. Meanwhile, Nebraska has Ohio State, Michigan, Rutgers. It doesn't get much easier than that to end the season for you. And so if Nebraska can in fact win these last 3 games of the season, and Illinois falters tonight against Minnesota, possibly falters in another game, we could be looking at the second best record in the Big Ten. And truthfully, it would be criminal if the season ends and Nebraska is the second best team or second best record in the conference and they're not ranked. That would be criminal, Burke.
Honestly, it truly would, man. Does this conference play mean nothing? What are we doing out here adding teams to conference like schedules if it just means nothing?
Yeah, exactly. But I totally agree with what you're saying about guys like Juwan Gary and Rink Mast. Like when I look at this Ohio State team, I know this is not the most popular things to say for Ohio State fans, but if I'm just being honest, Ohio State has lost these games or has won these past couple games against Purdue and Michigan State because I honestly believe those teams lost those games. I don't think Ohio State went out there and played a game to win. I think that they took advantage of Purdue's mistakes and Michigan State's mistakes, which also deserves credit. I'm not trying to take any, all the credit away from Ohio State, but when I look at these games, I see Michigan State making errors and Purdue making errors that allowed Ohio State to do what they had to do to win the game. So I give less credit to Ohio State for the wins and more credit to Michigan State and Purdue losing those games. So that's going to be the biggest thing I think for Nebraska going into this game is, can Nebraska play their brand of basketball, although they're on the road? Can they play their brand of basketball? Can Tamanaga get out there, be a hot shooter on the road, and really take down this Buckeye team? I'll be honest, I'm kind of rooting for it a little bit because I do like Nebraska a lot this season. However, I can't completely root for it because I can't root for my team to lose. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like this would be like the one loss this season where I just shrug my shoulders and be like, okay, it's fine.
Man, I do think it's pretty funny that you pointed out you thought it was Purdue and Michigan State losing and not Ohio State winning, because that definitely sounds like a fan of a fan base who had to fire their coach and is just resigned to the idea of this year's done.
I mean, you watch those games though. Do you?
No, I'm telling you, like that's exactly the mindset that a lot of us would have right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm just being honest. I try not to be Mr. Homer and think my team is the greatest thing ever, although I want them to be. I try to be realistic about things, but I look at this Nebraska team and Fred Hoiberg, he's just done a fantastic job with them. And like I said, it's really about going on the road, playing a good game on the road, being able to take advantage of the other team and their mistakes, and not make your own terrible mistakes. And do what you have to do to win. So is there any particular matchups or guys on this Nebraska team or Ohio State team that you're looking at, Burke, that you think will kind of be like the catalyst for the win or the loss either way?
Man, I've always just preached it's Juwan Gary's team in my mind. Just everything he does, he fills in the blanks for this team in so many ways. And yeah, when you have a guy like that who's willing to do the dirty work, who just like he's such a team guy. He's such a team guy that once he was done filling in the Alex starting role, like he earned it. He's kept it, and it's his. I thought he was a favorite for Big Ten, like 6th man of the year, until he just said, "No, I'm no 6th man." So, I just can't give that guy enough praise for the season he's having. And then Rink Mass just coming from the Netherlands just to take over. Like he has blown me away with how he come into the Big Ten. Yeah. I mean, but he is doing, like I said before, some diet TJD stuff where he is getting that ball up at the top of the key, and he's distributing with the best of them.
Yeah, the knee pad thing there, the knee brace thing that he has on doesn't really help either, because I've played in a number of adult league games and stuff like that in basketball where you see the dad with the knee brace on, and you're like, okay, he doesn't look super threatening, but he's gonna eat your lunch if you let
this guy pushes it.
Exactly. So Rake Mass, he's one of those guys that like you go out on the court and you're like, oh, we can take care of this guy. Felix Okpara looks like he's way more athletic and way better than this guy, but I tell you, Rake Mass, he's a smart player. He does the things that he needs to do. I think ultimately Nebraska wins this game. I don't know exactly by how much. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game going into the end, but I think Nebraska probably pulls away with some free throws, maybe wins by 6 or 7 points, maybe somewhere in the high 60s to low 70s range there. Burke, would you pick Nebraska to win this game as well?
Oh, yeah. I like I said, I expect water to find its level here. I expect the Ohio State team to come back down to earth a little, and I'm expecting the Huskers victory here.
Yeah. And like I said, I wouldn't be too mad about it. So I would be sad to see my Buckeyes lose, but, if it's for the Huskers,
hey, Buckeyes, okay. You're going to hire a great coach, and next year it's full steam ahead. But
rumor is Sean Miller.
You got to be okay with losing when you have an interim.
You tell me before we move on from this one. You tell me if IU was hiring Sean Miller, because that's the big name that apparently is rumored right now. Would you be happy with IU hiring Sean Miller?
No, because I ultimately think it would be a revenge plot by the Miller brothers to destroy us as a population. But anybody else, maybe.
I thought Wes Miller and Sean Miller were related for the longest time.
No, Sean Miller definitely doesn't like the IU fan base either. He would definitely prescribe to that idea of who wants to take a job that you're so easily fired from, because he has only preached that Indiana fan, like the Indiana fan base, just cannot be satiated in the eyes.
They gave Archie 4 years.
Sean Miller's. Yeah. No, but according to Sean Miller, like, we will never be satisfied.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wasn't even an IU fan. I wasn't even satisfied watching that
God,
he put out on the course. So
you know what? Yeah. Hey, what we didn't do in the Archie era was get to the tournament. Mike's gotten there 2 out of 3 times. He deserves a 4th shot, I guess.
Thanks for listening to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.